yesterday. Multiplication. Of integers. We said that if we have a negative a times b, that's going to be a negative, right, ab. And if a is positive and b is negative, or I'll just make this a parentheses, yeah, that's right, it's still a negative ab. But if you have a negative a times a negative b, then that's right, you get a positive AB. And you don't have to put the plus sign there, but because it's implied. But I said that I recommended that you put the plus there for now, so that it'll help you to remember to put a negative there. Because if the number is negative and it's left out, then it's a totally different number, right? It's the opposite of what it should be. And then, of course, when you have two positives, positive A and positive B, then it's a positive AB.
Okay.
Just like what we've always been doing. Now for division, if we have a negative A over a positive B, then you have a negative A over B. And the negative can be off to the side like this, or it can be up in the numerator. It just can't be down in the denominator. And so if we have a positive A and a negative B, then we still have a negative A over B. And again, you put the negative up in the numerator, you just can't leave it in the denominator because that's not simplified completely. And if we have a negative A over a negative B, it's like those negatives cancel, right? And we get a positive A over B. Just like when we multiply the negative times a negative, we got a positive. When we have negative divided by negative, we have a positive. Okay? So the only way you can get rid of a negative is if you have another negative, either to multiply or divide with it to cancel it out. Okay? And then, of course, we know already that if we have a positive A over B, that's still just a positive rational number, right? And so that's our notes that we went over yesterday. So in this next problem, if we have find the quotient of 100 and a negative 20. Okay, and I mentioned that when you write this out, you can write it like this: 100 divided by a negative 20. But if you write it like that, I also recommended that you wrote it in rational form. 100 over negative 20. And the reason for that is because the first number is always in the numerator. Whether it's smaller or larger, it's always in the numerator. The second number is always in the denominator. And then we can see that we have a positive divided by negative, right? And we know that 20 goes in 100 5 times. And so this would be like saying 5 over negative 1. Okay? So that means we're going to have a negative 5. Alright, and that's our answer. And that was like the problem that you were doing earlier. Okay, any questions with that? Okay, so if we have another problem similar to this, where we want to know what is negative 27 divided by negative 3. Now this one has the operation in between the two numbers. So usually students don't have too much trouble with this one here. But in the previous one, notice the quotient was not in between the two. Well, the quotient still means divided by, right? So you're dividing by the two numbers that follow after that. Okay? So you look at that operation takes priority over any other verbiage that goes on. Of sometimes can be used as multiplication, but when you have an operation like quotient, of just becomes a part of the sentence. It's just another word. And sometimes people look at and as an operation too, but and is not going to be an operation for the problems that we're doing. So in this case, we have what is negative 27 divided by negative 3. How would you write that out as an algebraic expression? Negative 27 divided by, and you can write it out long ways, and then negative 3 like that, or you can just go ahead and write it as negative 27 over negative 3. However way you start it, you know, you always want to go ahead and put it in rational form. So now what? Is our answer going to be positive or negative? Positive, right? Because you got negative divided by negative, it's going to be a positive. So we want to go ahead and establish that's going to be a positive. And then 3 can go into 27, right? How many times? 9. 3 goes in itself once. So our answer is positive 9. Okay? Any questions there? Okay.
I thought you said earlier that a negative could not be in the denominator, didn't it?
For the final answer.
For the final answer?
For the final answer, right.
Okay.
Right. It can when you're working through the problem, but for the final answer, you have to move that negative up. Okay? Any other questions there? Alright, good question. Okay, if we have the combined scores of the top 5 golfers, equaled a negative 10. So we have the combined scores of top 5 golfers equal to negative 10, period. What was the average score of the golfers? Okay, so we want an average score. So we're saying that the combined score, or the sum of all the golfers, there came out to be a negative 10. Okay, so we would write, how would we write this out? Negative 10, right, very good, over 5. Because we want an average, right? Okay, so we know that 5 can go into negative 10, and that gives us negative 2 over 1. So our answer is going to be